We come together today to love immensely, to love bountifully, to express this love without abandon, just loving and loving and loving. So it's a great morning. I love Sundays for that. I love that. We come together in this community to remind each other who we are. We come together to remind each other the true essence and divine nature within each of us, that we are perfect, that we each are creations of God, and we are perfect just the way we are, right here and right now. Science of Mind is a philosophy and a faith and a way of life that is dedicated to awakening all of humanity to recognizing their oneness and unity with God in all of life. There's this interconnectedness of everything that behind the scenes that we're not aware of in our human capacities, but our heart is aware. Our heart is aware of how that works. So we come together on Sundays to inspire, to remind each other who we are, and just rejoice in this good. We see each other in all of life with the eyes and the heart of God. So as we look at another, we see with the eyes of God. Our mission, Northwest Arkansas Centers for Spiritual Living mission, is we're a teaching chapter. So even though it looks like we're having like a Sunday church event, we're actually a teaching chapter, and our mission is all about teaching people how to live empowered, transformed, positive lives. And we do that through spiritual practices. That's what we teach. We teach spiritual practices in which people can transform and grow, and you can use these tools within your life to incorporate more happiness, a more positive experience within your life. So that's what we teach. And our vision for the center is that we are a bridge. We are a bridge where heaven and earth meet and is experienced in each of our hearts and is made manifest within the world. Because when we're happy, when we are happy with ourselves, deeply within ourselves, we're in the kingdom of heaven, and that kingdom of heaven expels out into the world, and there it is. It's everywhere we look, everywhere we see. We have brought on a new person to our team, actually two new people to our team. We have now Mr. Will Jeffries, who is now our new music director. Yay! We would like to thank Spirit for bringing Will our way. He is absolutely amazing. His musical talents, we've only gotten to see him itty bitty, and and today he has his voice is not up for performing today, so the lovely Miss Bonnie O'Boyle is going to sing for us today, and she has also been transplanted into our community, and we're just so grateful to have her essence, her presence, and her beauty here with us. So we're going to start out with two songs. Bonnie is going to sing, the first song is I Am So Blessed by Karen Drucker, and the second song is The Messengers. Okay.
You want to sing with this. The words are in the very first page in your little thing. And I just wanted to share the personal meaning of this song for me. I've known it for many, many years, and it has helped me through so many hard times. One in particular, I was driving along one day. My 10-year-old daughter was in the back seat, and somebody ran a stop sign and hit us. And we both had some neck pain, so they put us on the back boards and put our necks in braces and put us in the ambulance. And so I'm laying here in a hall waiting to be x-rayed. And I don't know exactly where my daughter is. I think she's down the hall a little ways. And it was very difficult to not be able to be there for my daughter. And so I started singing this song to myself. And I got some interesting looks from people who were walking down the hall. However, it got me through, and it's gotten me through many hard times, and so I really resonate with this song very deeply. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
Okay.
This next song,
This next one is a little bit, it's an original.
I wrote this song and about a year ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And so you can just sit and listen and soak this one in. While others lie awake at night, counting sheep to get to sleep, I lay and count my blessings, and my gratitude runs deep. And God breathes life through me, and I see the greater plan, that everyone's a messenger, here to help me if they can. And I thank God for the people in my life, even those who bring me sorrow, and for whom I sacrifice. Each one can teach me and move me toward the one. It's there that I will join them, and our struggles will be done. Now I care for many people, and I shower them with love. And no matter how they treat me, I have patience from above. And I know I couldn't do this had they not shown the way, by doing what they do and saying what they say. And I thank God for the people in my life, even those who bring me sorrow, and for whom I sacrifice. Each one can teach me and move me toward the one. It's there that I will join them, and our struggles will be done.
Thank you, thank you. So we usually start out our day by reciting an affirmation, which we didn't recite before our music, so we're going to recite that now. Affirmations are a way a spiritual tool in which you can speak life into life. And when you feed yourself with that truth, the truth of who you are, nothing but good can happen. It's a way of speaking life into life and declaring and affirming the truth about who we are. So we're going to recite together the February affirmation, which is in your brochure. We're just going to recite it together. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. The spirit within all of life is God, the one source of all life. It knows no lack and no limitation. The breath within me is the very breath of God. It is absolute, limitless, bountiful, ever expressing through me now and always. I am open and receptive to this infinite good that is the very essence of me. I release and let go any sense of lack, limitation, or fear. I ground myself in certainty and trust. I am immersed in the circle of love, encompassing the allness of my life. I am free to be me. I am loved, and I am loved. And so it is. How did that work? Did you feel that when you said it? It's better than coffee. It's better than coffee. So we're going to turn within in this moment, and I'm going to recite an invocation before we start our message of inspiration. So we turn within. Into the stillness of this moment, we enter into the sacred sanctuary of community, of oneness, of unity, of unconditional love, where we meet heart to heart and soul to soul. We are unified. We are one. In this beautiful moment, we invoke the presence and the essence and the power of love, and rejoice in the knowing that we each are one with God, this infinite intelligence, and claim and declare this beauty that is each of us. We know that we are the I am of the I am, the spirit of infinite intelligence, and knowing that today's message of self-love inspires and uplifts each of us, and we experience the bliss and the grace of God. And the Spirit of God flowing through our day today. With each breath we take, we receive this gift of life. With each word spoken, we know and affirm that we have everything we need within our hearts to express the beauty, the truth within each of us, with ease and grace and effortlessness. We allow this wisdom of the Most High to guide us, to support us, and claim the very best for ourselves and all of humanity. We are absolutely grateful and thankful for this day, for this music, this creative expression of God flowing through and as everyone present, through and as our workshop this afternoon. We give thanks. We give thanks for we each are an inlet for the divine ideas flowing through us, and we are a willing outlet for their expression this day and every day. Together we affirm this for ourselves, and we affirm this for each other by saying, and so it is. So today, our message this month, our theme is about the circle of love. The circle of love within ourselves, and then the circle of love within community. And what's very interesting about this topic, as humans, we have a tendency to not do either of these things very well. Being able to self-love ourselves, and then being able to love each other in community without getting messy with each other. You know, that's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing. So I'm going to read a quote that was written by Starhawk about community. It really spoke to me, and this is actually our affirmation for this month. There we go. Okay. So just take a moment to relax in your seat and embrace the fullness of this quote. We are all longing to go home, to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, and we can only catch glimpses of it from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, somewhere where we can be free, a circle of love. It's written by Starhawk. It's powerful. It's powerful. To imagine and envision what it's like to be around others and do it happily and do it joyfully without making messy with each other. So it's an interesting conversation, and this month is all about love. And we start this week, today about self-love. Next week we're going to go into spiritual maturity. I don't know that many people put those two words together. So yeah, that'll be an interesting topic. But one thing that Ernest Holmes talks about when he talks about self-love is that when all sense of separation between our divine truth and our current experience disappears, all false conditions fall away. I'm going to read that one more time. When all sense of separation between our divine truth and what we're currently experiencing right here, right now, disappears, all false conditions fall away. It says a lot. So we talk about how do we identify with self-love? Do we do it well? I think generally in most common experiences, people have excuses not to give self-love. I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that, so I can't do it. When it actually isn't something outside of ourselves, it's something within. So when we fill our souls and feed our souls with truth, it doesn't require anything but the recognition of that being the truth of who we are. There's many spiritual practices that we can incorporate within our lives to remind us of that. Whether it be meditation or affirmation or spiritual mind treatment, prayer, whatever it may be, there's lots of things that we can do to soak in the truth and the beauty of who we are. But self-love is an interesting aspect because it's, because it's something we turn within to do. We're not seeking it through someone else, which is really what the world has taught us. Do you guys remember the fairy tale that we were all told when we were little? That one day we would meet our Prince Charming and we'd get married and fall in love, and there's our fairy tale. Was anybody told a different fairy tale? I think that was the most common one. So what happens to ourselves when our life doesn't look like that fairy tale? What if that's not our journey? How do we feel about that? Do we judge ourselves? Oh, the reason I'm single is this, this, and this, right? We make up excuses for why we are the way we are. And there's no good or bad about it. There's no right or wrong about it. It's just who we are. But yet we want to justify that. oh, I'm not with anybody because I'm not ready, or I'm not, one of the words I heard used was, I'm not ready for I can't think of it. Anyway, we might keep ourselves apart. There was reasons why we justify where we're at. But in that act of doing that, we're acknowledging that something's wrong. Right? We're not meeting others to say, hey, I'm single, I'm this, I'm that, whoever I am, and I'm happy. That's, normally we're making excuses for the reason why we are, and somehow we're judging ourselves. The Course in Miracles says, love will immediately enter into any mind that truly wants it. Love will immediately enter into any mind that truly wants it. So it's not something far out of reach. It's not that, how do I attain it? How do I get it? How do I make it? It's inherent. It's the natural essence of us. But how often do we derive our life from that essence and presence? How many of you are familiar with the book You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay? How many have read it? One of my suggestions, I go out and get it. It's one of the top 10 books on my list, and it's very simple, and the whole book is about self-love. The whole entire book is about a journey of self-love. And it's easy. But it's funny how in our humanness, we tend to put that to the side. I don't have time. I don't have money to go get a massage. I don't have money to go on a retreat. Whatever it may be. Whatever it may be that makes us happy. It could be I want to go to NASCAR. It could be that, and no judgment and labeling around the things that make us happy. We're all unique. If we all like the same thing, this life would be no fun. We have that creative expression, which within each one of us is wonderful and creative, and to allow that to flow. So learning to love ourselves is both a psychological and a spiritual journey. In the compassionate shelter of one another, we have the opportunity to lay aside the false self and step into the radiance of who we really are. And that's the community part. Because in my experience now, right now, I don't think you can have self-love without community. Love is a circle of love that just keeps growing. So if you have a good relationship with yourself, with self-love, most often that will overflow the cup within you to want to share it with others. It's automatic. It truly is automatic. So that's why I put the two things together, because I think that, it's oneness, it's unity of that truth. But what's interesting is about this journey called life, personal growth, transformation, is a never-ending detox process. And at our weakest, darkest places, things are brought up to the surface in our lives. Why? So that we can stumble and trip, so that we can suffer, so that we can cry and have a dark night of the soul and be depressed. So we can let them go. Let them go. Ernest Holmes, one of Ernest Holmes' quotes is, nothing needs to be healed, only God needs to be revealed. Because when the true essence of our divine nature is known, everything else is an illusion. Everything else falls away. That is unlike the truth of God. It's gone. And it's up to each of us to choose that. At any moment, we can choose that. So as our life is going, as we're going down the yellow brick road of life, in these things in our life is brought up to surface, when something is brought up, we look at it and we go, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to deal with that. Maybe we pretend, we ignore, we're in denial, and we run like heck and say, you know what, I'm not dealing with that. But the interesting thing about it is that it's brought up for love. It's a love process. Because when we go past that invisible barrier of fear, of whatever it is that we don't want to look at, we're free of it the minute we look at it. The minute we stop running, right? The minute we stop trying to run the other way. And I think I call these, they're divine weeds. They're weeds. And we get to pluck them and just let them go. And the more often we do it, the better we get at it. The more fearless we get at it. And then that dialogue with self-love gets bigger that we have for ourselves. And well, look at how I've grown. Look at what I've done. So it's not for suffering and it's not for fear. We can look at these moments, love them, and let them go. Our freedom lies in a change of perception around those very things. That's all that needs to happen. Our freedom lies in a change of perception that delivers us to the love we seek, that the love that was always there. We can give thanks for them, for these events, showing us the truth without shame, without guilt, without blame, and without fear. The search for love is but the honest searching out of everything that interferes with love. Course in Miracles. The search for love is but the honest searching out everything that interferes with it. When all sense of separation between our divine truth and our current experience disappears, all false conditions falls away. So if we want to stay in this experience and be in denial and not see it with love and fear it, what happens? Most often we get stuck. We get stuck in the mud with it. We can't move forward. And people will say to me, I just feel stuck. And they don't know why. Well, they do know why. It's a matter of looking. It's a matter of asking. So we have the opportunity to choose how we deal with these, this never-ending detox process of life. Because we are human beings and always evolving. We don't stay, the beliefs I had at 10 are not the same beliefs I have at 20, and they're not the same beliefs I have at 30 and 40 and 50 and so on. We're ever changing, ever evolving. We are meant to see things in a new way. We are meant to experience more love, more beauty, more prosperity, and allow more of our authentic expression to be expelled in the world. Because if we feel that we're not living authentically, how happy are we? We're pretending to be something we're not. That takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to be to do something we're innately not happy with. We could probably pull it off for a little while here and there, but eventually it will burst. So if we remember a time when you held a baby in your arms. Just see that little baby, see those little eyes sparkling back at you. Feel that warmth in your arms. And now look down at that baby and see that it's you. See that it's you. That you are perfect and whole and complete. That you are here to live in joy, in the kingdom of heaven always. And now that you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however old you are, what's changed from that moment we were born? We're still that whole perfect and complete being that God created. What has really changed? Nothing.
We've been indoctrinated.
Well, and we have a lifetime now to release all of those things that we maybe bought into our belief system and into our ideals that obviously don't serve us and are ultimately not true. And it's so liberating. It is so liberating and fulfilling to say, I heard this commercial on PMS that, after a woman hits 40, PMS is awful. I don't buy into it. We have a choice. We have a choice about what collective ideas we're going to buy into. I've seen people, divorce. People talk about divorce. Oh, it's awful. Oh, it's terrible. I've seen people do it well. So it's all about the choices that we're making, that self-talk that we're having with ourselves, and the choices that we're making that creates our reality. Because we recognize that when all sense of separation between our divinity, which is truth, and our current experience disappears, all false conditions fade away. Love will immediately enter into any mind that wants it. We can't go buy it at 7-Eleven. We can't go buy it at we can't buy it at the store. We have to buy into it through our belief that we are seeded from that perfection. So we ask ourselves, in this self-love conversation of self-love, what's our self-talk? Are we loving ourselves through the day? Or are we going, are we giving ourselves a hard time? Oh, you forgot that, or oh, you didn't do that, or oh, you don't look good today, or, whatever it may be. Do we laugh at ourselves? And if you don't, and I'll be one to say that years ago I did not, and I'm still learning how to do it today, put that on the top of your list. Let yourself off the hook. That's really what you're doing, is you're letting yourself off the hook to be authentically you, however that may be. We get into that idea of perfectionism. That kills all happiness, just trying to be perfect. It's another thing that will drain energy very quickly. It's hard to keep up with. But self-talk, how do we treat ourselves? What is our relationship with ourselves? Are we our own best friend? Do we listen to ourselves? Do we take ourselves too seriously? Do we take time to love ourselves? Has everybody heard the saying, I'm my own worst enemy? Lots of years practicing that, and it didn't go very well. It was not fun. The root of all human suffering is believing that we are separate from our God and our good. And our ego will be the first one to jump up and say, it's our own worst enemy. We can't have that, we can't be that, we can't do that, that type of thing. It shows up as self-judgment. And it shows up that there's a belief that there's something wrong with us and that we're not worthy of love. And then we label it and we justify it and we agree with it and we have conversations with it. And often what happens is those particular beliefs that we're not worthy of love, that there's something wrong with us, in that labeling and justification, it will show up through our physical self as depression, as being lethargic, anxiety, addiction, unhappiness. The Course in Miracles says that the ego lives by comparisons. That's the only way the ego can survive, is by comparing. The other quote from the Course in Miracles, the ego cannot survive without judgment. So to make it very quick and easy, if you are judging, it is your ego. It is not God. It is not God. And I'm sure the ego has a wonderful, there's a place for it in our lives, but obviously balance is good. That it's not the predominant entity or thing or that we listen to. Because when we hear God, when we hear the truth about ourselves, it will lift us up. We will feel good. We will be, that depression will leave right out the window, and we will jump up and say, I'm ready. It's that quick. So we talk about selfishness. We talked about self-talk. Now we're going to go into selfishness. Selfishness is an interesting topic because it can be a positive and it can be a negative. Selfishness and a negativity is self-absorption. It's all about us. It's all about you. You don't care what other people think. You don't, it's self-absorbedness in oneself, which there's a lot of addictions are in that category. Aloneness, procrastination is even in that category. Because there's something, procrastination wants to keep us in our box. It doesn't want to let us out to experience those things that our heart would like to do. It says, no, you're too tired today. No, you don't have time, whatever it may be. So procrastination is an interesting because I don't think most people know that that's actually, it's a selfish, self-absorbed, egotistical habit that keeps us stuck. Healthy, selfish behaviors. If you're tired, you rest. If you're hungry, you eat. If you're not feeling well, you give yourself radical self-care. Stop, drop, and find your blanket. Yeah, and if you need a thumb, go ahead and do the Linus thing. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say, and don't hold back. Speak and communicate without fear and openness, without worrying, without judging yourself. Let it rip. The universe will mirror to you exactly the way you treat yourself. So the relationship that we have with ourselves is ultimately, we all know, our relationship with God. We are made in God's image and likeness. So if we are being untrusting with ourselves, ultimately we don't trust God. So we take the circle of love, and now we go from self-talk to selfishness to community. And obviously, to break through into that community, what do we have to have first? Trust. Because as we talked about in the beginning of the message, we don't do community well. Why? Because we don't trust. We don't trust each other. We don't. So we ask ourselves, do we have a close inner circle of trustworthy friends that support you? Do they love you unconditionally? Do they laugh with you? So, do they laugh at you? Do they laugh with you? Are they lighthearted? Are they lighthearted, or are they judgmental? What kind of friends do we have? And if they can't help themselves grow, they certainly will not be able to help us grow. Who do you ask for support? Do you share? Do you have a prayer partner? If you'd like to have a prayer partner, see me after the message, because I'll sign you up. Prayer partnership, just to go off on that little subject, because it is part of community. It is part of what we do here at the center. But it has taken my life places that I never thought it would go. And it took me that personal trust to really open and be vulnerable and be intimate with people that some of them I really didn't know. They were just brought into my life. But it was in that vulnerability and in that intimacy to say, okay, I'm going to share what I would like prayer for. I'm going to share what my next stage of growth is. Please hold it for me in truth. It got me through to the other side. It got me through to the other side where in my aloneness, I was having trouble. And the most amazing things come through others because God is in all of us. So that, you know, your girlfriend Susie said, hey, I think you need to do this. And you went, wow, that came out of her. And it was the one thing that you needed to hear to move forward in your life. So this infinite intelligence works through all of us. And obviously the bigger support circle we have, the bigger community we have, the bigger we're open. We're moving fearlessly with community, with unconditional love, with acceptance, and complete trust. Because we recognize here, in and all of life, that your dream is my dream, and my dream is your dream. We see each other as that we are independent individuals, but we're not. I know we look different, we wear different outfits, we have different shapes and sizes and skin tones and belief systems and all these kind of things, but we are exactly the same. And when we can intimately honor each other in that capacity, guess what happens? The kingdom of heaven opens up. I got chills everywhere. There's no reason to isolate ourselves. There's no reason to keep ourselves from joyously living and being with others in community. We can agree to disagree. We can agree to love and accept unconditionally. We can do those things because it's all of our desire to do that. We all have that same desire to walk into a community, as Skyhawk said, and meet soul to soul, eye to eye, heart to heart, and be intimate and talk about the things that really matter. Not about the news, not about the economy, to talk about what's dear to our heart. So we talk about love being an inside job. So when we have this supportive community, friends, our inner circle, our circle of love, do we ask them when we need them? Do we ask for help? If you had a lawnmower, if you were, let's just say, a single woman, and, well, I'll just put this out there. As a single woman, I had a lawnmower that didn't like me. And I had a big yard, a big, big yard. And I was too proud to ask my neighbors for help. I had a family next door of me, and then a single man another door down. They would do anything for me. They would absolutely do anything for me. I was absolutely blessed. But would I ask? No. Why? I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. If it's a I don't need anybody type of mentality. I'm really, honestly, I'm so far removed from that anymore that I have trouble relating to it, but I certainly can feel it and remember what it was like. That I was keeping myself from my own good. You know, I was my owner's worst enemy, and I was very good at it. I was very good at it. It took me 35 years, whatever it is, I don't know, somewhere in there, half of my life to get to the point where I could see something different, where I could finally open to the idea that life could be joyous, that life could be fun. So a lot of that, part of that in trusting, having a supportive community and friends, ask. If you need help, ask. I think it's all this programming, you know, from TV and race consciousness that, you know, I'm trying to think of a Nike term, you know, do it till it hurts, or, you know, all those silly things that we've been told. It doesn't have to be like that. We have a choice about how we get around in the world, and we can do it in a loving, joyous way. And honestly, I have moments where I'm still vulnerable. I'm vulnerable every Sunday I get up here, every time, never fails. Always nervous. You know, my ego tries to have a conversation with me that, Kim, you're not good enough. You're just a practitioner. You're not this, you're not that. And I do that dance. I breathe and I go, come on. And I do it anyway. I do it anyway because I know that, I know the truth about myself. And it's gone way beyond. And it is a form of self-love. It is a form of self-love because I love doing this. I love teaching and empowering and being with people in an intimate way. When I was a practitioner, I graduated in 2010. I came home from my first retreat and I said, I'm doing this. I got to see my first CSL community. And I went, I'm making this here. There's no reason that we can't have this. Well, here's the blessing. Now I get to teach and share it with others. But ultimately, yeah, I was being kind of selfish. You know, I wanted to have that community of love, of fun, of connection, of intimacy, of honesty. So that's how this place got born. It was a divine idea going back 3 years ago. And it's taken me out of my comfort zone. And it keeps growing and expanding, and it's beautiful. But it's a new phase of my vulnerability. It's a new phase of my walk with God. But I love myself through the process. So, and it takes that when we're moving in a direction that we have not been yet. You know, we feel like we're moving down a dark hallway and we don't know what's on the other side. But when we move through it and have our self-talk be loving and supportive, and surround ourselves with people who will inspire us and motivate us and to move forward, to cheer us on, it gets so much easier. The walk goes from feeling like it was alone to realizing that you were never alone at all. Never alone. So self-love is an inside job. Go where you are adored. Go where you are valued and appreciated. Go where you are invited with open arms. And avoid where you're not. Because you really, really never, ever we never have to prove our value to anyone. We are wonderful. You are wonderful exactly the way that you are. Even if we didn't grow up knowing that, we can absolutely choose that now. Align with the divine and those who are like-minded, whether it for love, friendship, business, or collaboration, magic of any kind is love, and is always ever available to you. So we never have to just prove our value or jump through hoops. We don't have to live life in that manner. Just trusting the divine plan. Trusting the divine plan. So I'm going to share with you some side effects of loving yourself, and then we'll close out in prayer. You become a happier person because you are better able to accept your flaws, your imperfections, and your uniqueness. You're perfect just the way you are. Your self-talk becomes more positive. Your well-being improves. You are able to practice forgiveness and compassion. If you can't do it with yourself, you're not going to be able to do it with anybody else. Let yourself off the hook. You enhance your ability to receive love Because you know that you're deserving. Being self-accepting, you become self-accepting of others. Your relationship with your spouse, your loved ones, your friends, your colleagues, and clients, they all improve. This self-love enhances your ability to be successful. Your vibration becomes more positive and enhance your ability to attract more positive outcomes. You're choosing that. You're choosing that. You enhance your ability to reach maximum potential because you're less inclined to putting yourself down. You're able to honor your dreams. You're able to align with your higher purpose and lead a more fulfilling, satisfying, gratifying life. All by yourself and with others. How's that sound? Did that work? All right. We're going to close out with prayer. So I'm going to start with a prayer or a quote of Rumi. Let's join hands and get this circle of love juice going. Join hands with who's sitting next to you. Now I need a camera. Darn it. Okay. So let's enter into this sanctuary of love, of prayer, of connection, and oneness. I believe with deep inward calm that the word of faith is the execution of spiritual law within our lives. I know that my word penetrates any and every unbelief in my thought, and it casts out all fear, removes doubt, and permits that which is enduring, perfect, and true to enter into each of our consciousness. I know that each of us here today were born with potential. We were each born with goodness and trust. We're born with ideals and dreams, born with greatness. And I know that each one of us have wings. We are not meant to crawl. We have wings, and each of us are learning to use them and how to fly. So I'm so grateful for this message of love, of self-love. I know that the experience experienced here today is the grace of God through and as unfolding within each one of our hearts, and that we are connected in this infinite love always. We are always immersed in this perfection, this wholeness, this beauty, this happiness and joy that is the truth of each of our souls. So as I know we go about this day and every day this next week, that we are loving ourselves in new, bountiful ways with ease and grace and effortlessness. That our self-talk is loving, our relationships are satisfying, gratifying, and that when we see another, we see with the eyes of God. We see with the heart of God, with acceptance, with non-judgment, with unconditional love, and knowing that we breathe and have our beingness within this kingdom of heaven every moment of every day. I'm so grateful for our time together, for this message, for the music, for Marina's workshop this afternoon, her visit to Arkansas, just so bountifully enjoy. So there's a grateful heart that we affirm this truth for and as ourselves and for and as each other by saying together, and so it is.